In this video, we will show you how to replace your front strut assemblies on this Ford Fusion. This is part of your front steering and suspension, located inside of your front wheel well. Let's get into it. Safely raise and support the front of the vehicle, we can start removing the wheel. To remove your wheel, you have 5 19mm lug nuts. We'll get those out of the way and we can remove this. Take hold of the wheel, remove it from the vehicle. Now that we have the wheel off, we can remove our 32mm axle nut from this area. With that removed, we'll continue with a hammer and punch directly in the center of the axle, separating this from the wheel bearing. Once you have movement from there, you can continue on. Moving along, we're going to disconnect the upper portion of the sway bar link from your front strut. To do this, you'll find in the center of the sway bar link, you have a port for a 6mm Allen head socket. The nut itself is an 18mm. I'm going to break the nut free, but what you'll find when you go to turn the nut is the stud will eventually start turning as well, so we'll have to use 2 tools at that point. Got some movement here. With this broken free, we'll continue on with our 18mm wrench directly on that 18mm nut. At this point, we're going to have to turn the stud of the sway bar link clockwise, which will be loosening the nut. We have our bracket for our ABS wire that should slide right off that front strut. Quick inspection, make sure it's not rotted and damaged. Let's take hold of the sway bar link now, slide it right on out of place. Now we'll move from there to dislodging the flex hose mounting bracket from our front strut. It's held in place with a 10mm bolt. Remove the bolt, quick inspection, set it aside. Looking along the back side of the knuckle, we have the area where the ABS wire is. It should be pressed right into place on the strut itself. Ours is actually broken, but typically you can pry it out of place. Continuing from there, we're going to start dislodging the 2 mounting bolts that hold our front strut to our front knuckle. Now for these, you're going to find you have 21mm bolt heads on the forward side, and on the rearward side, you'll have a 24mm nut for each of these bolts. The bolts themselves are actually splined, essentially held in place, so you don't have to worry about them spinning. We will remove the 24mm nut and then tap these out of place. Let's move just below that. Be careful around our ABS wire. Continuing from here, we're going to tap these bolts out of place. As I mentioned, they are splined, so we'll make sure that we hold on to them so they don't go shooting out too far here. You can see that splined area right there. I'm just going to start that back through temporarily, holding this in place while we continue on to the second mounting bolt. Once again, being extremely careful for this ABS wire. Now as you remove this bolt, you're going to find that the knuckle will want to pull away from the front strut. When this happens, we also need to pay attention to our front axle, making sure that we do not put a tug on it, so we'll be pulling this down and pushing the axle in and through towards the center of the vehicle. At this point, we'll let this hang, putting no pressure on our flex hose or the axle, and we can continue on in the engine compartment. In the engine compartment, on each side of the vehicle, you can see the strut tower. On the strut tower, we can see 2 pieces of our mounting hardware, but there's actually a third right under this area, so we'll have to dislodge the upper plastic cowl. To dislodge the plastic cowl, you'll find that you have several clips making their way across. You can use an angled pick or pretty much anything to pry these out of place. Just be careful not to lose them in your engine compartment. With those clips out of the way, we'll take hold of the plastic and start lifting it up. Be extremely careful for your wiring harness. It will slip through this little area here. Once you do have it up, I'm going to put something in here as a spacer, holding it up while we continue on with our hardware. Now we can start removing our 10mm hardware. When we're removing the last piece of hardware, we need to be holding onto the front strut so it does not fall down and potentially cause any damage. Let's remove the strut. There it is, friend. Let's prepare to install our brand new front strut. We'll carefully get this in position, aligning it with our strut tower, being extremely careful for our axle located down inside the wheel well. Now, while holding it here, we have our brand new mounting bolts. I've applied some blue thread lockers, so we'll just go ahead and start those in by hand. Now that we have all these mounting bolts started in by hand, we're going to pause in the engine compartment and make our way back into the wheel well. In the wheel well, we have our 2 mounting bolts that hold the knuckle to the front strut, already cleaned, and some blue thread locker on the threads. We'll take the knuckle and slide it into the front strut, being extremely careful not to cause any damage to the axle while pressing it through, align this area, and put our bolts through from the front towards the rear. Just a couple taps on those to seat that splined area. 24mm nuts for each of these. We'll snug these up and torque them to 173 foot-pounds. Continue on to resecuring your ABS wire to the side of the front strut. Ours is broken, as I mentioned. Let's move along to our flexos and get this in position. As for the mounting bolt, I've cleaned the threads and applied some copper anti-seize to this. Double check, make sure that's secured and it's not twisted or damaged in any way. Let's bring the sway bar link over to our front strut. We're going to bring it along the back side of the strut, sliding it through, and then continue on with our ABS wire bracket. Install the mounting hardware here. Now I'm going to torque this to 45 foot-pounds. Double check, make sure everything's secured. Now it's time to resecure the axle to the hub here. Get the nut on. When installing the nut, you'll find that it only turns so far before it starts turning this entire thing. The easiest way to tighten this is to use a pry bar diagonally across the studs all the way down to the ground, preventing this from turning on you. When you go to tighten this nut, never use an impact gun, only use hand tools. The torque for this is 148 foot-pounds. Now it's time to install our front wheel. We'll get this in place. Start on all 5 of our 19mm lug nuts. Once we have them bottomed out, get the wheel safely back on the ground and torque each of them to 100 foot-pounds. With the wheel safely back on the ground, we'll be torquing these in a crisscross manner to 100 foot-pounds. torqued. Now back up in the engine compartment, we want to make sure we have the complete weight of the vehicle on the ground, and we'll continue on with our 3 pieces of mounting hardware. Snug them up, torque them to 26 foot-pounds. They're all snug. We'll torque these to that 26 foot-pounds. Okay friend, we showed you how to install one side of your front struts. When you replace these, typically you do them as a pair, so go over to the other side of the vehicle and repeat the process. After that, we're going to reinstall our plastic cowl. Remove the spacer from this area, bring our wiring harness through here. Continue on with our 4 metal clips. Let's get our clips on there. You can see exactly where they go. Okay friend, we finished our installation. Go ahead and take your vehicle for a road test down to your local alignment shop. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.